Welcome to Timeless Click. Today we will be learning the camera basics. So this is the terminology you will need to know going into cameras. If you want to go more in depth, try to get more of an action shot, slow motion, anything to make an image different than it choosing it itself. So to do that, you need to learn the exposure triangle. So this triangle is three things that consist of making an image. Shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. These regulate the most light, the amount of light, the least amount of light that comes in and is projected on your image that comes out. So if I take a photo, all of these three things contribute to making this image. First, we will learn about ISO. This one is harder to grasp because there are many different uses. So we're just going to jump into this one. Like I explained earlier, they are the control of brightness. So if we leave the aperture or shutter speed at a set thing and it won't change it, and you change your ISO gradually upwards, it will get brighter. So that creates more noise or grain in an image. So if you have 100 ISO, it will be as clear as you make it, or as high as your aperture. For this image, they only changed the grain and made everything else the right brightness, so you can only tell the grain of it. So this one is a low number, is 100. This one's a high number, is 3200 or higher. Can't read the number quite as well. But if you look at it, it's more grainy, which means if you look closely at a blanket and you see all these threads, you cannot see that if you're farther away. So it's only taking a little portion of every inch to make a square or a circle to create something. I know it can be a little bit difficult to understand. It's a way to see at night more, or to create an image out of nothing while you're trying to get something else right. For me, if I'm doing portraits, I like to stay between 100 and 500 if I'm outside. But if I'm inside, it would have to be anywhere between 300 to 1600. But I don't want to go past 3200 because that's where I see the most grain. And if I want to change the crop or anything like that, you can see more of the grain, and if you try printing it, it won't look as good for what I'm going for. But if you're taking night shots, you will need to raise that ISO higher to get an image, because how dark it is outside to get the most light. Next, we will learn about aperture. This is the size of the lens opening. So these are measured in f-stops. So we got f1.4, f2, f2.8. As you see, these are gradually closing the lens. It's the moment where light comes in, but only lets that much amount of light in. So if I have a really high number, like f32 or F10 in this sense, or in this case, you can see more of an image. There is not as much that is blurry, but if I use like a higher number than F10, you can see more of this background. But for F2, you can only see the foreground, which is this part that is focused. The rest will be out of focus. This also changes with the type of lens you use or the distance between your object and the rest of it, the background. These are all measured in f-stops. Shutter speed is how fast the camera snaps a picture. So, if I have a 1/500, which is a very quick snap, but could get higher, you could capture water being frozen in air and birds stop flying. But if I have a 1 second delay or something different, you can see the lights moving in traffic and won't just be a single picture. So in this sense, if I have a lower number, like a single second, you have more light coming in than it is when your shutter speed is higher. So for the camera feature dials, to learn a little bit more about each one, you have the normal manual, where you get to choose your ISO, your aperture, your shutter speed, and you get to change them all. But I recommend working on AV on Canon or A on Nikon or Sony. This is a aperture priority mode, which you can only change your aperture to get a certain image, like a certain blurriness of a background, and it just fixes the rest of it for you. So with this, you also have a TV, which is a shutter priority mode or a shutter priority for S. It's basically whatever one it says, you are allowed to change, and the rest will fix itself to get you a good exposure without you having to worry about if it's too bright, if it's too dark. It does it for you. Thanks for watching.